I've had sleep paralysis before. The medical explanation is simple. Your brain wakes up before your body does. You're caught between dreaming and waking, unable to move, trapped in your own head. That's the science. But when you're in it, science doesn't matter. What matters is the crushing weight on your chest, the buzzing in your ears, and the thing you're sure is standing in the corner of your room. The first time I saw it clearly was 3 months ago. I had been pulling late nights for work, barely sleeping. At 3 a.m., I woke up but couldn't move. My eyes darted around the room in panic. That's when I saw it. A tall, shadowy outline at the foot of my bed. It didn't move. It didn't speak. It just stood there watching me. I told myself it was my brain misfiring, a hallucination from sleep paralysis. But then its head tilted just slightly, as if curious. The paralysis wore off after what felt like forever, and I shot upright, drenched in sweat. The corner was empty, no shadow, nothing. Still, the image stayed with me all day, a dark figure, human but not quite. That night, I couldn't shake the thought, what if it's more than my brain playing tricks on me? And worse, what if it wanted me to see it? The next time it happened, I was ready, or at least I thought I was. I had done what every rational person does. I Googled sleep paralysis, I read medical forums, watched TED Talks, even found YouTube channels where people described the exact same shadow man I had seen. All of them swore it wasn't real, just the brain misfiring, a glitch between dream and wake. Knowing that should have helped. But it didn't, because when it happened again, the thing at the end of my bed looked sharper, clearer. This time, it wasn't just a dark outline. I could make out details. Broad shoulders, the faint texture of clothing, like a hood or coat, and most disturbing of all, the faint gleam of eyes, not glowing, just reflecting the light from outside, like an animal caught in headlights. It leaned closer. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt crushed under a weight that wasn't there. The buzzing in my ears grew so loud I thought my head would split, and then, the most dangerous thought I've ever had crossed my mind. Instead of begging it to go away, I thought, stay. I wanted to see what would happen if I didn't fight it, if I let it be there. The paralysis lifted. I sat up, gasping for air, and the corner was empty again. But the fear didn't fade this time, because deep down I knew. I hadn't just seen it, I had invited it. The third time it came, I didn't even panic. By then, I was expecting it. My sleep schedule had been wrecked from staying up late, reading about hallucinations and brain chemistry. So when I felt that familiar buzzing hum at the edge of my skull, I knew, it's here. And sure enough, when my eyes adjusted, there it was again, the shadow. But something had changed. It wasn't just standing at the end of my bed anymore. It was closer, halfway across the room, frozen mid-step like it had been caught moving. I should have screamed. But instead, I did something worse. I thought to myself, what if I let it come closer? And in that moment, I swear, its head tilted, like it had heard me. The air felt electric, heavy, pressing down against my chest. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. All I could do was stare at those faint, reflective eyes. That's when a thought, not my own, brushed against my mind. Not a voice exactly, but a feeling, like it was asking me a question, do you want me here? I don't know why, but my mind answered before I could stop it. Yes, the paralysis lifted instantly. I bolted upright, drenched in sweat. The room was empty, but my heart wouldn't slow down because I knew what I had just done. I hadn't imagined that exchange. I had made a deal, and whatever I'd let in was planning to stay. After that night, I started noticing things when I was awake. At first, it was subtle. I'd be working at my desk, glance at the corner of the room, and swear someone had just stepped out of view. I'd tell myself it was just exhaustion, stress, tricks of the eye. But then the gaps in my memory started. One morning, my mom asked why I'd been standing in the kitchen at 3 a.m. just staring at the fridge. I laughed it off, said she must have been dreaming. But later, when I checked the fridge, the butter was sitting on the counter, melted into a yellow puddle. I had no memory of touching it. The next night, I woke up with dirt under my fingernails, not a little, caked like I'd been digging. That's when I realized whatever I'd let in wasn't just a nightmare anymore. It was bleeding into the day. I tried staying awake, drinking coffee until my hands shook. I thought if I avoided sleep, I could avoid him. But the longer I stayed awake, the more real he became. Shadows that didn't belong, reflections that moved slower than me, that same tilted head, waiting patiently in places no one else looked. And then one night, when I finally gave in and closed my eyes, I heard him again, not in my mind this time, directly in my ear, whispering, "You said yes." The first time it happened, I thought it was just sleepwalking. I woke up sitting on the front porch, barefoot, my keys in my hand. The air was freezing, but I didn't feel cold. I didn't even feel scared. Just empty. That's when I noticed the paper in my other hand, a torn scrap from one of my notebooks. 3 words written in my own handwriting: "Dig behind shed." I swear I didn't write it. The next night, I tried to resist. I barricaded my door, shoved a chair under the handle, even pushed my dresser in front of it. But when morning came, the barricade was untouched, and I woke up outside. Behind the shed, fresh dirt clung to my hands. A shallow hole was scraped into the earth, and right at the bottom of it, sticking out just enough for me to see, was the corner of something wooden. I didn't dig further. I covered it up, shaking, and ran back inside. That night, lying in bed, I heard him again. His whisper wasn't strained this time. It was calm, patient. "Finish what you started." The next day, I couldn't focus on anything. Work emails went unanswered. My phone buzzed nonstop. But all I could think about was the corner of that wooden box sticking out of the dirt. By nightfall, my chest felt tight. I knew I wasn't going to sleep until I dug it up, so I grabbed a shovel. The soil was loose, easy to move, almost like it had been disturbed before. With each scoop, I felt sweat sting my eyes, even though the air was cool. Finally, the blade of the shovel hit something solid, wood. I dropped to my knees, brushing dirt away with my bare hands until the top of a small, weathered crate revealed itself. My hands shook as I pried it open. The hinges groaned. The smell hit me first, sharp, metallic, rotten. Inside wasn't money or trinkets or anything that could be explained away. It was photographs, hundreds of them. They were damp, the ink smudged, but the faces were clear. Every picture was of me, sleeping. At first, they looked recent. Me in my bed, curled up, sometimes with the blankets half off. But as I dug deeper through the pile, the photos looked older. Different houses, different bedrooms, apartments. I'd lived in years ago, every place I'd ever stayed. Someone had been there watching. I dropped the photos back into the box, gagging, dirt caked under my fingernails. That's when I heard it again, the whisper, low and steady right behind me. "You let me in, now I can stay." I couldn't sleep after finding that box. Every shadow in the room felt like it was holding its breath, waiting. I tried locking the photos away, stuffing them into the bottom drawer of my desk, but I couldn't unsee them. Me sleeping in apartments I'd lived in years ago, in my old dorm room, even at my parents' house. Someone had followed me for years. By sunrise, my nerves were shredded. I went straight to the hardware store, bought motion detectors and cameras, and installed them around the house. That night, I forced myself into bed. My chest ached with every inhale, waiting for paralysis to come. It didn't. Instead, the alarm on my phone buzzed at 3:17 a.m. One of the cameras had detected movement. I sat up, heart racing, opening the app. The screen showed my backyard. Someone was there, a man, tall, hunched, standing perfectly still near the shed. His face was shadowed, but his posture, it was watching. I wanted to call the police, but my body locked. Not paralysis, just pure terror. I blinked. Refreshing the feed, the yard was empty. No man, No footprints, just the swaying of tree branches. I told myself I imagined it, but when I got up to check the camera the next morning, I noticed something I hadn't before. The footage was gone. That one clip, the proof, deleted, and worse, the photos in my drawer, they weren't in there anymore. In their place was just one single Polaroid, fresh, crisp, me sitting up in bed, staring directly into the camera, taken last night, but I hadn't moved, I hadn't smiled, and in the picture, my mouth was stretched into a grin. I didn't go to work the next day. I couldn't. My mind was fried from replaying that photo over and over. That smile. It wasn't mine. Every time I looked at it, I noticed something new. The way my eyes looked glazed over, the slight tilt of my head, the tension in my cheeks like someone was holding them up. I shoved it into a drawer and locked it, but I could still see it when I closed my eyes. That night, I decided not to sleep at all. I brewed coffee, sat on the couch, and stared at the door like a soldier on watch. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Nothing. I must have dozed off anyway, because when I woke up, my coffee was cold and I was lying on the couch, but something was wrong. My jaw hurt. My cheeks ached like I'd been clenching them all night. I stumbled to the bathroom mirror and froze. My lips were cracked, the corners of my mouth raw like I'd been smiling in my sleep. Not just smiling, stretching. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands, switched to the front camera, and hit record. If something happens to me, if anyone finds this, it wasn't a dream, I whispered. I couldn't finish, because right behind me, in the reflection of the bathroom mirror, I saw it. A face, my face, grinning ear to ear, but I wasn't smiling. I didn't leave the apartment for 2 days. Every time I walked past a mirror, I had to cover it with a towel. My own reflection didn't feel like mine anymore. But the worst part? I couldn't shake the feeling that someone else was inside me, stretching my face when I slept, puppeteering me when I wasn't aware. I bought a cheap security camera and set it up in my bedroom. If something was happening, I needed proof. That night, I lay down, wide awake, forcing my eyes to stay open until they burned. I must have drifted off anyway, because when I woke up the next morning, the camera light was still blinking. Relief washed over me. Finally, evidence. I poured a cup of coffee and opened the footage on my laptop. The first few hours were normal. Me tossing, turning, staring at the ceiling. But then, around 3:17 a.m., I saw movement. I sat up in the footage, not like a tired person sitting up, but jerking upright, stiff, like a doll being pulled by strings, and then I turned my head toward the camera. My eyes were open, wide open, and I smiled. For an hour, just staring directly at the lens, grinning. I couldn't breathe. I fast-forwarded, praying it ended. At 4:22 a.m., I leaned closer, filling the screen with my face, and then, in a voice that was unmistakably mine, I whispered into the microphone, "Don't stop me again." The footage ended there. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the table shook. I didn't remember any of it, but my throat was raw like I'd been whispering all night. After watching that footage, I didn't sleep for almost 48 hours, but your body always wins in the end. On the third night, my eyelids betrayed me. I told myself I'd just rest for 5 minutes, sitting at the kitchen table with the lights on, but the next thing I knew, my head was on the wood, drool soaking the notepad where I'd been scribbling, "Stay awake, stay awake, stay awake," and then I was back in bed. I don't even remember walking there. The camera was still pointed at me, its little red light blinking, recording everything. I felt a weight pressing down on my chest. Heavier than ever before, my hands wouldn't move, my legs wouldn't respond. It wasn't the demon, it was me, some part of me that wanted this, that begged for it. I turned my head, slow, mechanical, to face the mirror across the room. I hadn't covered it this time, and there, in the dark glass, my reflection smiled first. Before I did, my mouth followed a second later, stretching into the same grin. I couldn't stop it. I wanted to scream, but the sound never came out. The last thing I remember before blacking out was whispering into the empty air, "I'm yours now." When I woke up, the camera was gone. So was the footage, and when I checked the mirror, the smile was still there. Even when I wasn't smiling, it's there now, watching me type this. And if you've made it this far, maybe it's watching you too.